YouTubers. I'm Morgan, a registered dietitian and yoga teacher who focuses primarily on helping athletes and runners. And so today we're going to dive into some feet and ankles. So the thing with feet and ankles is that if you have a hip injury, if you have a quad injury, as runners, it can be really easy to kind of push through that because we want to keep going and we think, oh, it's just a little nag, no big deal. And we usually can keep going until, something happens, which may or may not happen. With feet issues, it's a little different in that because feet are our foundation, they will literally, like, those injuries will stop you dead in your tracks pretty much. And they can actually be some of the most difficult to heal, some of the most chronic injuries, things like plantar fasciitis and Achilles Tendinitis. And so if you're working with any of those, this is going to be a really good class for you, and at least give you some of those tools that you can do on your own to really help facilitate healing that. So if you have a lacrosse ball or a really hard ball, it can be very helpful here. And even if it's a tennis ball, baseball, softballs are going to be pretty hard and pretty intense, especially if you're working with plantar fasciitis. So tennis ball, lacrosse ball, probably a little bit better of an option. And the other thing that you will need is at least one block. If you don't have a block, that's okay too. You can always use a book, and I'll show you a modification if you just don't have one as well. But those can be just some helpful things. So the first thing that we're going to do is find a comfortable seat. Now, I tend to sit hips on a block, and we're going to take our feet out in front of us in that sort of comfortable seat. And then we're going to work into using the lacrosse ball on our feet. You can start with either foot. You can work into the arch of your foot. Feels really, really nice. It's probably not going to feel so nice if you have some plantar fasciitis issues. You can even do a little bit of like the ankle situation. Really what you're doing here is breaking up tissue that is overused or overworked and just kind of jammed up there. Now at some point, if it's not too intense, you can take this into standing, which is going to put more weight on that foot. So you decide if that's something that is going to suit you today. Yeah. And when you've taken a nice few passes, so this is actually something you can and should probably do every day. I mean, if you think about it, we spend hundreds of dollars on nice, super fancy, cushy shoes, which are great and fantastic for running. But also what that can do is sort of act as like a cast, in that we can't stretch out the fascia and all these little tendons and ligaments. Ligaments connect muscle to bone, tendons connect muscle to muscle. The bones, there's actually 26 bones in our foot, in each foot. So that's a lot of little ligaments that are working in here. Good. And then switch sides. So again, maybe you are seated doing this, putting a little bit less pressure, a little bit less weight on it, or maybe you're doing it from standing. You can even kind of stand on it a little bit more. You decide on how much pressure is going to be okay. If this is not something that you've done before, or you haven't done it in a long time, or you are working with an injury, you might be putting a lot of weight on your other foot, and that's pretty much what I'm doing here, and that is totally okay. We're still getting into all that good stuff. Yeah. So there's something called reflexology, which is basically massage for the foot, and it's designed to correlate with different meridians, which are energy channels in the body. And so different parts of your foot are associated with things like your kidney and your liver and your lungs and your heart. And I like to think that doing this lacrosse ball stuff is a good way to get into all that. So we're opening up more than just our feet and ankles. Good. Oh, I could keep going, you guys. Feels so nice. Okay. I'm like, okay, and then I keep going. But no, when you're done, you're gonna take a seat on your heels. So if that is not comfortable for you, it may be helpful to sit on a block. You can kind of sit it on in there. But really what we're doing here is stretching the tops of our feet and our ankles. Now if this seated position really is not working for you, or if you don't have a block, what you can do is come to standing, turn your toes behind you, and do essentially a very similar stretch. So, your choice. We're going to breathe here for 5. Surrender the weight for 4. Relax for 2. Engage your core for 1. Relax your shoulders. Good. And then switch sides. So again, you can either be still on the seat on the block, or if you're standing is when you would switch the sides. So if you're on the block, just hang tight, breathe deeply. Notice if you're starting to grip and hold the body physically, or hold the breath. Very nice. And then to get a counter, whatever foot you're on, if you're standing, we're gonna use that foot. If you are on the seat, come up into standing, and then kick, let's say, your left foot back. So bend your left knee, back foot, a lot, and you're gonna bend it so much as you're working your left heel down towards the ground. Now I'm kind of holding onto a wall for support. You could be standing, you could hold onto a wall in front of you. You don't have to necessarily hold onto a wall. I just think it's kind of nice. But this is going to start to get into our ankle and our Achilles. So this is really good for any kind of Achilles tendinitis issues. Same thing, Achilles is a band of tissue that, we're also kind of working into that calf, which is what attaches to the Achilles. Step your left foot forward, step your right foot back, stretch it out. So again, bend your back knee slightly to help you push your heel down further. That's going to increase the angle of the stretch, so it's going to be a deeper stretch. Smooth breath in. Long breath out. Don't mind me, I'm just looking to see outside. There's so many birds. So many birds. Just distracting you. It's all good. Nice. And then step forward. From here, step your left foot forward. Spin your right foot out 60 degrees. Hips are facing the front of your mat. And then bend your front knee. So we're in essentially a warrior 1. So you're going to start to feel it in the front part of your quads and hip flexors, which is also really good for runners. But then we also start to get some sensation into our back foot. Push into the outer edge of your back foot. Inhale, interlace your hands, option to fold it forward. And inhale, come back up. Step forward, step your left foot back just enough so you can still get the outer edge of your left foot on the ground. Bend your front knee to a square. Push out through that back foot as a lot, like especially that outer edge. Push it, push it, push it. Stretching that ankle. Inhale, broaden your chest, and exhale, fold it forward. Good. And then place both of your hands on the ground and come into a seat with your right leg out in front of you and cross your left ankle on top. So if this is a lot, you can always support your leg, your knee with a block. And then take your right hand and wedge it inside of your feet, which is going to feel pretty weird if you've never done it before. And then start to work into your foot, doing little circles. Yeah. So you might actually be like, how come I can't even get my fingers all the way to the base of my toes? And that's just because those ligaments and tendons are probably pretty tight, all those connections. Eventually you might get there, but even if you don't, we still work towards it. Yeah. And as we're doing this, we're actually getting a mild stretch to that right hamstring as well, which is pretty nice little side benefit. Nice. And then exhale, release, switching sides. Oh, it feels so good, you guys. So cross your ankle over your thigh, keep your foot super flexed. Wedge your left hand inside of your toes. Flex the toes forward and back and begin to make those little circles on this side. Now again, this is, so if you're right-sided dominant, working with this right foot, you may actually feel more stickiness, more tightness, and that is absolutely positively normal. Our feet are designed to actually take 2 to 3 times our body weight, which is pretty impressive. But with that workload, I mean, that's a lot of workload every time you're hitting the pavement or the trail. So kind of give them some love. Nice. And then release the right foot down. Come onto your back. Hug your knees in towards your chest. And just kind of point, flex your feet, and do some circles. So part of yoga is not only flexibility, but it's also mobility of the joints, which is exactly what this type of little move does. And then taking a mild happy baby, so bring your hands inside of your legs, just reach down towards right below your knees. Press your tailbone into the ground. Settle into the breath. Good. And then with that block that you have, you're going to put it underneath your sacrum. Now if you don't have a block, you can put a blanket underneath your sacrum, you can put a pillow underneath your sacrum. You can also, if you have a wall nearby, just kick your legs up the wall and have that support. So, a few different options. Even if you don't have a wall nearby, if you have a chair, you can bend your knees and just put your legs on the chair without elevating your hips here. Elevating your hips is nice, but not necessary for what we're trying to do, which is get our feet above our head and above our heart so we can start to work that lactic acid out. And then while you're here, while your legs are up, you're just going to again find that mobility, so pointing and flexing. There is a theory that a lot of times why injuries in the feet happen, like plantar fasciitis and Achilles tendinitis, is because the ankle and the foot is so stiff that it can't actually efficiently absorb the shock of when like the body's hitting the ground, striking the ground. So this might seem super simple, but in reality, this is the kind of stuff that keeps you running and keeps you doing what you love. Or at least I love running. I don't know about you, but I think if you're watching this, you love running too. Nice. And then find some stillness. Cactus, open the arms and let everything get really flappy. This is how we're going to take Shavasana. If you'd rather extend your legs out flat, go ahead and do so. Or if you'd even like to take a little bit of a supported bridge, whatever feels good. Draw your attention into the breath. Slow it down with every exhale. Stay here as long as you need. When you're ready, if you're in the supported bridge, walk your feet back, slide the block out. If your feet are overhead, place your feet down and then remove the block. Windshield wiper. Roll over to your right side. Pause for a breath. And inhale, come up to a seat. Place your hands at your heart center. Give yourself some gratitude for getting on the mat and working into those feet. That is not easy stuff. And until we meet again, namaste.